Dear students, in this video, we can learn some programming concepts and we can learn how to write a program. So first, we can learn some basic concepts related to the programming. After that, we can move to the programming part. Now see this example. This is a Python 5. I'm writing the code like a equal to 5, print a equal to comma a. Now I am executing this program code. Now see, the output is 5. A equal to 5, then print A means we'll get the result as A equal to 5. Once again, I am executing this program code. See the result, A equal to 5. Once again. See, we'll get the result as 5. That means each time we are executing this program code, we will get the result as 5. Because in the beginning itself, I have defined the value for A as 5. That means A points to 5. Suppose I want to change the value of A as 6. Normally what we will do, we will change A equal to 6. And we will run the program code. So we'll get the result as 6. Once again, I am executing. I want to get the value of A as 100. Again, we will try to change here as 100. Now I want to get it as 200. So we'll change it as 200, 700, 800. So each time if you want different values, we have to change the value A equal to, then different values we have to give. That is not good. So instead of that, we can use the input function. So using input function, we can input different values to the variable A. So we can write like this, input. Now inside the parenthesis, the curved brackets are known as the parenthesis. We can give enter the value. Now we can execute this code. See, enter the value. So I am giving a name like Arun. So A equal to Arun. So first time when I am executing the code, the value I have given is Arun. Once again, we can execute this program code. See, enter the value. I am giving it as 67. A equal to 67. We got the result. Once again. Now see, 90.87. The result will be 90.87. This slash by mistake it came here. Okay. So each time when we are executing using input function, we can input different values. So you got an idea about the input function. Using input function, we can give different values. Now we can come back. So in Python, using input function, we can give different values to the variable. Now, see this example, A equal to input, enter the value, print A. Now we are executing this code, just assume, then in the output it will be like this, enter the value. So you can give the value as 90, then print A, the output will be 90. Again we are executing this, we can give like this, enter the value. We can give like this, hello. Now print A, it will be hello. Again I am executing this, enter the value. We can give it as 80.67. So it will be 80.67. So using input function, we have given different values. Now the input function will take the values in the form of a string. Now see this, enter the value, then 90. So the value pointed by A will be 90. Now inside the memory, the 90 will be stored in the form of a string. So the 90 will be considered as a string. It will not consider as a number, it will consider as a string. Now enter the value hello. That means A points to hello. So inside the memory, A will be considered as string. Now enter the value. That means A points to 80.67. we will think it is a floating point number, but it's not like that. Inside the memory, it will be considered as a string. So always keep this point in mind. Using input function, we can input different values, but the input function will take the values in the form of string. So if we are inputting a number, it will consider it as a string. If we input any string, it will be considered as a string. If we input any symbols, it will consider it as a string. Suppose I want to input an integer number. I just want to input an integer value. So we can use the function int. In order to input a number, we can use the function int. So if you are writing like this, a equal to int input, enter the value, then print a. Now we are executing this code. So the output will be like this. Enter the value. We can input 10. Now print a, will get the result 10. Now inside the memory, a will point to an integer number. So using int function, we can input integer number. Next, if we want to input a floating point number, we are having float function. So using float function, we can input the floating point number. See here, a equal to float input, enter the value. Now we have to close the two parentheses. Okay, one parenthesis is of input function, other parenthesis is of float. Now print a. Now we are executing this program code. Then the result will be like this. Enter the value. We can give 20.50. That means 20.50. Then we'll get the result 20.50. Now inside the memory, a will be pointing to 20.50. That means a is pointing to a floating point number. So in order to input an integer number, we can use int function along with the input function. In order to input a floating point number, we can use float function along with the input function. Now using input function, we can input integer value, floating point number, or a string. But the point is this: the input function will take all the values in the form of a string. Don't forget that point. Input function will take all the values in the form of a string. Even if we input number, it will take it as a string. Now see this code. A equal to input, enter the value. Now we can use the int function here. Int, then we have to close the brace. Now we can execute the code. See, enter the value. Suppose I am trying to write hello. Hello is a string. Now enter. We will get an error because using int function, we can input only a integer number. It is not possible for us to input a string. Once again, I am executing this. Enter the value. I am trying to input a floating point number 67.89. Again, it will show an error because using int function, it is possible for us to input only the integer values. Next, once again, we can execute. Now we can try to give an integer number. See, we'll get the result as 45. That means using int function, we can input only the integer number. Now we can try the float function. So we are writing float, input, enter the value. We can execute. See, enter the value. First we can give a floating point number 45.67. We'll get the result 45.67. Once again we can execute. See here, enter the value. I'm trying to give a string. Now it will show an error because using floating point number, it is possible for us to input only a floating point number. If we are trying to input a string using float function, it will show an error. Now next, enter the value. I'm trying to input an integer value. See, a equal to 58.0. So we'll get the integer value in a floating point representation like 58.0. So using the float function, it is easy for us to input integer. But using float function, it is not easy for us to input the string. So once again, I will conclude the points we have learned in this video. That is, using the input function, we can input integer, string, and floating point number. But the input function will take only the values in the form of a string. Now see here, using the int function, we can input integer numbers only. It is not possible to input string or a floating point number. Now using float function, we can input integer number, we can input floating point number, but it is not possible to input the string value.